Okay, good afternoon to you all. We are just waiting for 5 past. At 5 past, then we start. So just be patient. Let's save those latecomers to attend as well. Just 2 minutes time, we start. So be patient and don't leave, please. Okay, let's start. So start with grade 5 and grade 6 content. And then thereafter, we move on to the grade 7 content. So the grade 7s who are there, you are also going to learn something. Then thereafter, we start with we continue with the question paper. And also this applies to all the grades, grade 5, grade 6, grade 7. We did this as well in grade 5, grade 6, grade 7. So some questions for decimals, they apply for both grade 6 and grade 7. We are going to revise that as well. So you'd rather be there until the end of the session if you are in grade 5, grade 6, and 7. There are some questions which are similar, so we are attempting both of them. So for time, grade 5 and grade 6. We are going to attempt question C, where we ended yesterday, which is section C, numbers 1. So the time which has elapsed, which means we are talking from 8:25. From 8:25, which means it's in the morning, it has passed midnight by 8 hours, 25 minutes. That's why it's 8 a.m. to 10 past 10 in the morning. So you want to calculate the time that has elapsed. So you subtract. So how do we subtract? We say 10 So we are going to say it's 10 past 10. Then you are subtracting the time taken or the time which elapsed from 25 minutes past 8 in the morning. So we are subtracting that time. So by subtracting, you must indicate the sign. Like we indicated in class, that 10 cannot subtract 25 minutes. So which means we take an hour from 9, from 10 hours. So which means this becomes 9 hours. So that 1 hour, we are going to add it to the 10 minutes. 1 hour is 60 minutes. 60 plus 10, it gives us 70 minutes. So this is our new time that we are using now. So 0 cannot subtract. 0 cannot subtract 5. 0 cannot subtract 5. So what do? We borrow from the 7 there. Then the 7 becomes a 6. So which means now we are using a 6 is left, then the 0 becomes a 10. So 10 minus 5. 10 minus 5 is just 5. All your mics are muted because there are others who are making noise. So I've decided to mute the mics for progress sake. If there is a question that you didn't understand, you can ask in class after you've revisited the recording. So there are others who are here just to play, but we don't want to play. We are here to assist. That's why I have decided to mute the mic. So 10 minus 5, that's 5. 6 minus 2, that's 4. You put your 4. Then 9 minus 8. 9 minus 8, that's 1. So we are having hours and minutes. That is the time that has elapsed from what time? From 8:25, which means 25 minutes past 8 in the morning to 10 past 10 in the morning. The time that has elapsed, it's 1 hour, 45 minutes. 1 hour, 45 minutes has elapsed from that given time. So whenever you borrow from hours to minutes, you are borrowing a 60 minutes because we know 1 hour is equals to 60 minutes. So the time that has elapsed from 1845 to 2120, which means that time is in 24-hour notation. So you are simply subtracting 2120 minus 1845. So let's subtract that one together. So 21 hours, which means this time in 12-hour notation is 20 past 9 in the evening. Then you are subtracting that from this 1845, which means it's quarter to 7 in the evening. So when we subtract, you indicate that you are minusing 1845. So you subtract, indicate you are subtracting 1845, which means it's in the evening, 45 minutes past 6 in the evening. You subtract 20 minutes cannot subtract 45 minutes. So we are still using the same method that we used before of taking 1 hour from the 21 hours. Then you'll be left with how many hours, which is 20. So we are left with 20 hours if we remove 1 hour. So that 1 hour is equivalent to 60 minutes. So 60 plus, already we are having 20. So the 20, we cancel it. Then now we are having 60 plus 20, which is 80 minutes. So we are having 20 hours and 80 minutes subtracting 18 hours, 45 minutes. Using the same method, 0 cannot subtract 5, so we are going to borrow. We are going to borrow again from the 8. So the 8 becomes a 7, then the 0 becomes a 10. 10 minus 5, that's 5. 7 minus 4, that's 3. Then we are having a 0 subtracting an 8, which means we are going to borrow again from the 2. The 2 becomes a 1. 10 minus 8, that's 2. 1 minus 1, that's not. So our time that has elapsed, the time that has elapsed, it's going to be 2 hours, 35 minutes, which means the time taken from 1845 to 2120, it's 2 hours. And the minutes, we have mentioned that the minutes, we are having 35 minutes. So 2 hours, 35 minutes. That's how you subtract. 2 hours, 35 minutes. Now you are calculating again from 7:30, which means it's 7:30 in the morning, to 2 o'clock in the afternoon. 2 o'clock in the afternoon, you want to see what time has elapsed again, you subtract. So we are using the same method, the grade 5 and the grade 6. Time is part of your exam, so you must know how to calculate. So 14:00, which is 2 p.m. in the afternoon. So we are subtracting 14:00 minus 07:30, which means 7:30 in the morning. 7:30 in the morning, then we subtract. Since 0 minutes cannot subtract 30 minutes, we need to borrow again. From the 14 hours, we borrow 1 hour. So if you borrow 1 hour from the 14 hours, which means 18 hours are left. Then here, 0 plus 60, which means now our time now, which we are using, it will be 60 minutes. Since 0 plus 60 is 60. Now we do the subtraction. Now we are doing the subtraction, which is 0 minus 0, that's 0. 6 minus 3, we are having 3. And don't forget to put your colon for time. 3 minus 7, it's impossible, so you need to borrow again from the 1, which means this becomes a 0. The 3 becomes a 30. 18 minus 7, then you know your answer is 6. So the hours that have elapsed from 7:30 until 2 o'clock in the afternoon is 6 hours, 30 minutes. So to write your answer, 6 hours, 30 minutes has elapsed. So 6 hours, 30 minutes has elapsed. Okay. And then now we are moving on to the next one, which is saying the section D, the mixed questions, 2 hours, 45 minutes after 9:15, which means after 9:15 in the morning. You want to know if it's after, which means you are adding. We are adding that time. So 2 hours, 45 minutes, 2 hours, 45 minutes after that time, we are adding. So if you are adding after that time, which means it's 9, you are adding 2 hours, 45 minutes to which number? It's 9:45. 9:45. Then you add 2 hours, 45 minutes. 2 hours, 45 minutes. So you want to know what time is it after that time is elapsed. So let's add 5 plus 5, that's 10, which is 0, carry 1. Then 4 plus 4, that's 8, plus 1, that's 9. You put your colon, Then 9 plus 2, that's 11. 1 carry 1. 1 carry 1. Then 0 plus 1, that's 1, which means it's 11. The time, it will be now 11:90. But because the minutes, they must not exceed 60 minutes, which means our time, when it becomes 60, it becomes another hour, which means we need to divide. We want to change that 90 minutes to hours and minutes. So how do we change the 90 minutes to hours and minutes? So we divide by 60. We divide by 60. So which means 90 divided by 60, what are we going to get? So let's write it down here. 90 divided by 60, what are we going to get? 1 hour and 30 minutes. 1 hour and 30 minutes. There are others who want to join who are late. All right, let's continue from where we left. Let's continue from where we left. So we are saying 1 hour, 90 minutes, it's 1 hour, 30 minutes. We are going to divide. So we are here 11 hours, 90 minutes. So this 11 hours, 90 minutes is the same as 11 hours. We want to convert that 90 minutes to hours and minutes. So when you divide 90, you are dividing it by 60. So 90 goes into 60 goes into 90. How many times? It's 1. Remainder 30. So the remainder is the 30 minutes. So it's going to be 1 hour. That is 1 hour and 30 minutes. That remainder, it's your minutes, 30 minutes. So we are adding it to that. So which means this 90 minutes, we are replacing it with 1 hour, 30 minutes. So the actual time, 2 hours, 45 minutes after 9 hours, 45 minutes in the morning, we're going to end up at 12. 12:30 in the afternoon. So the time that we need to put there, 2 hours, 45 minutes after 9 o'clock, it will be 12:30. So we are going to put 12:30 here. So it will be 12:30 in terms of 24-hour notation. 12:30 in terms of 24-hour notation. Then the time which we want to calculate. So the mixed questions, which means from 11:50 a.m. From 11:50 a.m., which means it's 10 minutes to 12 before noon time until 15:05 p.m. So we are subtracting the time there, how many minutes? So let's calculate that as well. So it's 15:05 p.m. minus 11:50 a.m. So this is PM. The other one is AM. It's before noon. Anytime before noon or midday, it's AM. We use the same method. 5 cannot subtract 50 minutes. You don't borrow a 10 from the 15. You borrow a 1 hour. So which means the 15 becomes 14. And then we add the 60 minutes to the 5 minutes. It becomes 65 minutes. So which means that is our new time that we are using, 1465. Then 5 minus 0, we get 5. 6 minus 5, we get 1. 4 minus 1, we get 3. 1 minus 1, that's 0. So that time until 5 minutes past 3 in the afternoon, how many hours has elapsed? Which means 3 hours, 15 minutes. So there it will be 3 hours, 15 minutes after that time, which has elapsed. We are simply calculating the time that has elapsed. 3 hours, 15 minutes has elapsed. And then from 3:50 p.m. So here on the worksheet, normally we don't write this with a 0. It must not be there in 12-hour format. It must be just 3:50 p.m. without the 0. So it's just a correction there. It should be 3:50 p.m. plus 25 minutes, which means we are adding, just like what we did before. So let's add 3:50 plus 25 minutes. So we add, which is going to be 3. It's in the afternoon, 10 minutes to 4 in the afternoon, or 50 minutes past 3 in the afternoon. Still correct. Then you are adding 25 minutes, it's 0 hours and 25 minutes. So you want to know what time is it now. You add, you are going to get 5. You add, you get 7. You add, you get 3. But we said your time, your minutes should not exceed 60 minutes. Once they reach 59, the 60th, you add to an hour. So which means now we want to convert. We want to convert 75 minutes. We want to convert 75 minutes to hours and minutes. So we are going to add 3 hours, which means 3 p.m. Then when you add that 75, you are dividing 75 divided by 60 minutes. So how many minutes, how many times does 60 go into 75? It's 1, then the remainder 15. So which means we are going to add 1 hour, remainder 15. These are your minutes. So these 75 minutes can also be written as 1 hour, 15 minutes. So if we add, which means the time that would be elapsed after 25 minutes, the time now it will be 4:15 p.m. 4:15 p.m. So this is the time that you are going to put. 25 minutes after 3:50 p.m. it's going to be 4:15 p.m. So you put your answer before 15 p.m. without the 0 here. When you want to put a 0, now it becomes 24 hours. So in terms of 12-hour format, it does not have that 0. Don't put the 0 there in front. Then 3,600 seconds, you know this is equivalent to 1 hour. Must know it by head. 3,600 seconds is equivalent to 1 hour. 8:30 in the evening in 24-hour, 8:30 in the evening in 24-hour time. So you know 8, it has passed 8 o'clock, which means we are talking of 20:00, and it's half past, which means 30 minutes have passed. You don't add PM, you know it's in the evening. So in 24-hour notation on time, it's just 20:30 as it is. 20 hours, 30 minutes have passed after the noon time. 20 hours, 30 minutes have passed after noon time. Then the last question for this worksheet, it's saying a challenge question, a race started at 09:12:25, which means at 12 minutes and 25 minutes past 9 in the morning. Whenever you see 0, it's 24-hour notation. So it's 12 minutes and 25 seconds. 12 minutes and 25 seconds past 9 in the morning. And we are finishing the race at 9:47, which means 47 minutes, 50 seconds past 9 in the morning. How long was the race? So let's calculate how long was the race. So we take the finishing time. The finishing time, it's 09, which means 09:47. 09:47 minutes, and then 50 seconds. 50 seconds. And then the starting time, we started at 12 minutes and 25 seconds past 9 in the morning. And then it's 25 seconds. Then what you do, you subtract. So if there are minutes, if there are seconds, remember we said the first, these are hours, these are hours, these are minutes, and these are seconds. So the time now is having seconds, hours, minutes, and seconds. So we are saying the minutes can still borrow each other. You can still borrow a 10 from a minute. But when you are borrowing an hour to give to the minutes, which means you are borrowing a 60 minute. So for example, here we are going to calculate 0 cannot subtract 5. 50, 0 cannot subtract 5, so which means we are going to borrow from the 5. It becomes a 4. So these are seconds. They are borrowing each other. But if you are taking from this side, that's where you borrow a 60. But if they are just seconds as they are, you can still borrow a 10. But if you are borrowing from this side to give this side, that's only when you can borrow a 60. Or if you are borrowing hours to give to the minutes, that's when you borrow a 60. But if the seconds are just borrowing from each other, they are seconds all together, or they are minutes all together, or they are hours together, which means you are just borrowing a 10. Which means here, if I borrow a 10 minutes, which means 10 seconds, I give it to the 0, then the 1 comes there, it becomes a 10. 10 minus 5, it's now 5. 4 minus 2, that's 2. Then you are having your colon there. 7 minus 2, that's 5. 4 minus 1, that's 3. Then 0 minus 9 minus 9, that's 0. That's 0. So the time that has elapsed, if you are to write it in words, it's going to be 35 minutes and 25 seconds. So if you are to write that time in words, so what time it took 35 minutes and the seconds that we are having, they are 25 and 25 seconds. That is the time worksheet for grade 5 and grade 6. Then those who still want to join, we can continue the grade 6, the grade 5s if they want, they may. But normally now it's grade 6 and grade 7 content, which we are now working on from where we left yesterday. grade 6 and grade 7 content. However, some of the content can be grade 5. Solving these questions of quarter off, 3/4 off. So the last question which we were working on yesterday was when we are adding two fractions with different denominators. So we said the whole numbers is 2 plus a third. So 2 and 2/5 plus 1/3 plus 1/3. So you can see the denominators are not the same. We should make the denominators the same. First, you must find the lowest common denominator. How do you find your lowest common denominator? First, you need the lowest common denominator of 5 and 3. Of 5 and 3. So that lowest common denominator, it should be a multiple, which means a lowest common multiple of 5 and 3. So your multiples of 5, which means you are just multiplying, multiples of 5 are 5, 10, 15, 20. Going further. Then multiples of 3 are 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. Those are the multiples of 3. Then the lowest common multiple, which means you are looking for the number that is the lowest common multiple of those two numbers. So 15 is common. 15 is common. That's why this is our lowest common multiple, 15. So when you get your lowest common multiple, 15, make those two denominators be a denominator of 15, which means how do I make that denominator 5 as a denominator of 15, which means I come a 5 for it to be a 15, I multiply by 3. Also, if you multiply by 3 on the denominator, you also do the same on the numerator. You make the denominator a 15. Then you make the denominator 3 a 15, which means you are multiplying by 5. You do the same here by 5. Then now we can add them because now they have the same denominator. So it's going to be 3 times 2, that's 6. 5 times 3, that's 15. 1 times 5, that's 5. 3 times 5, that's 15. So you are adding. Now the denominators are now the same. So it will be 6 plus 5, you get 11. You don't add the denominators when you're adding fractions. The denominator stays the same. So I showed you how the 15, that denominator 15, was obtained. It was using the multiples. We are using the multiples so that you find the lowest common denominator. Okay. Then the next question for paper 1, it's saying Peter has 30 rand, 0 cents. So this, whenever you are given a digit like this, it means it's 30 rands and 0 cents. Money is always measured in rands and cents. So Peter is having 30 rands, 0 cents in his PG bank and 3/5 of his money, and he spends 3/5 of his money. How much money does he spend? So 3/5 of 30 rand we are spending. So we say 30 rand as the whole number is 30 over 1. Just multiply the numerator times numerator. 3 times 30, you get 90. Then 5 times 1 is just 5. So 90 rands divided by 5. Then your answer, 5 goes into 9. How many times? 5 goes into 9 once. So which means you write your 1 there. Remainder 4. Then 5 goes into 40 8 times. So if it goes into 48 times, then your answer would be 18, which is 18 rands. So use the method of numerator times numerator, denominator times denominator. You always get your answer correct. Then you use the division method. If you want to use the long division method, still fine, 90 rands. Then you divide by 5. 5 goes into 9 once. 1 times 5, that's 5. Then from there, you subtract, you get a 4. You bring down the 0. Then 5 goes into 40. How many times? That's 8. 8 times 5, that's 40. Then you arrive at the answer, you stop. The remainder is 0, then you stop. So Peter spent 18 rands. Don't forget the units. This is money. We are not working in donkeys. It's money. It must have units, which is rands. Must have units, which is rands. Right. I'm checking if there are people who are raising hands. There are others who have raised hands. We'll see about that. The questions later when I unmute all of you. Now everyone is muted. Okay. Let's continue. So now in the number, we are given that number 42,635. In the number 42,635. So first you must write that number in the place value table. So 42,635. These are our tens. These are our units. Then we are having the place value for the comma. Tenth with the small letter t. 100th, 1000th with small letter t, h. So the place value, or in the number 42,635, we want the value, not the place value. So the value, we said 100th, it's 0,01. This is 100th as a decimal. As a fraction, that 100th is the same as 1/100. But the place value is being multiplied by 3, the value 3. So in other words, you are multiplying that 0,01 by 3. So this is the place value table for that value. So you are multiplying it by 3, that place value times 3. So which means it's going to have 3 times 1, that's 3, 3 times 0, 0, 3 times 0, 0. We are multiplying by the whole number, which means the decimals, you count the number of decimals, there are 2, which means the comma is here. That is how we got the answer. So the place value of this, when we are referring to a tenth, and a tenth, they are different. Tenths, it means you are multiplying by 10. Units, you are multiplying by 1. That's why we call them units or ones. Place value for a comma, tenth is 1/10. Hundredth, 1/100. Thousands, it's 1/1000. And then as a decimal, remember it's 0,01. Let's put it as a decimal here so that you can see. So this will be 0,1. 0,1. 0, 1 as a decimal. Then as a decimal, this will be 0, 0, 0, 1, 3 decimals when you are dealing with this. So the place value times the digit which is there. So in our case here, the value, you don't want the place value, you want the value. So you multiply that is 0, 0, 1 times this digit which is here. Then that's why we are getting 0, 0, 3. So if it was the value for the 4, you take the place value, it's a 10. So 10 times 4, the value of the 4 becomes 40. So you must take note of the place value table when you're answering those questions. Compare the following numbers using greater than or less than. So which number is greater? So check here, the trick is that 64 and 624. It looks as if 624 is bigger than 64. But when you are given a decimal whereby the dimensions are not the same, you add placeholders. That is the trick. They always trick you like this each and every time. So you use this method 281, 6, 4. But because you don't have the other digit so that it can have the same dimension with the other one on the right, 3 decimals after the comma, you just add a 0 for this 6, 4, so that it also have 3 decimals after the comma. And then you are comparing it with the 281, 6, 2, 4. So the trick is that they did not put that placeholder here, so that it also the same. It is also the same with the 3 digits which are after the comma. So the trick, it always like this. There's always a question which comes like this. They know learners are going to say 624, 624 is bigger than 281,64, which is wrong. So the answer there is, this is bigger. Only if you have added a placeholder of the 1,000. So always compare decimals with the same dimensions. If they give you a 2 decimal place with a 3 decimal place, make sure that all of them, they are the same in dimensions, which means they are also ending in 3 decimals so that you can compare. So this is the only trick for decimals. Add that placeholder, the 0. You will see that that number is bigger than 281,24. Then for number 4.3, it's a pattern where we are counting forward. Decimals, where you are counting forward in decimals. So first you must find the difference. How are we counting forward? Are we counting forward or backwards? So which means we are adding. We have added 0, 0, 2, which means it's a plus. We are adding. Then you add again, from there to there, you have added again 0, 0, 2. So if you add 0, 0.02 to 0, 0.06, you are going to find that you are going to get 0, 0.08. So 0, 0.06 plus 0, 0.02, which means you want to come here. You add, you get 8. This is 0, comma. The comma for addition and subtraction stays where it is, then you subtract. I mean, you add. You get that answer, which is 0, 0.08. Then you add again from 0, 0.08. You add again plus 0, 0.02. We add. 8 plus 2, that's 10. 0, carry 1. You put a 1. 0, 1, 0. That 0 is just a placeholder. You can write your answer as 0.10, or you can simply write it, which is just equals to 0, 1, because this 0 is just a placeholder. Just a placeholder. You can put it or you can ignore it, just a placeholder. So it's either 0, 10, 0, 1, still the same. Then for addition of decimals, suppose you are given those decimals which you are having there. First, you put them in the vertical column method according to their place values. For example, 24,56, 24,56 plus 13,129 plus 9,37. What do I mean by place values? In the place value table, which means you are having your tens. You are having your tens. You are having your units. You are having comma, which means this is the tenth, hundredth, and thousand. So your columns must be straight. When you are dealing with this, once you put your numbers not straight, you won't get it right. So your columns should be straight when answering these questions. Straight vertical column method, so that you can see properly. Once you put numbers in zigzag, you won't see. You won't see properly. So these are your place value table. So now you are adding those numbers. So where there is nothing like this one, you want to make it also a 3 decimal, 24,56. Where there's nothing, that's why I said you add a placeholder, a 0. 9,37, where there's nothing, you add a placeholder, a 0. Here, there is nothing in the tens, so which means just a 0 in the tens. So now we are adding. So we are adding, which means 0 plus 9 plus 0, which means you still find the answer to be 9. And you must indicate that you are adding. It's a plus. So you get a 9. 6 plus 2 plus 7. So 6 plus 2, that's 8. 8 plus 7, that's 15. 5. You carry a 1. That's 15. 8 plus 7 plus 15. 5 carry 1. 1 plus 5, that's 6. Plus 1, 7 plus 3, 10, which means 0. Carry 1. Carry 1 to the units. 1 plus 4, 5. 5 plus 3, 8. Then 8 plus 9, that's 17. 7, carry 1. 1 plus 2, 3 plus 1, 4 plus 0, that's 4. So your answer is 47, and the comma stays where it is. So 47, 059, which is the same answer that you are getting there. So use the vertical column method. It's very easy. 47, 059. You add everything at once. Still get the same answer. If you want, you can use also the second alternative method, where the learner is adding 2 numbers at a time. Then you add, you get the next. Is still correct. Or you can simply add all of them once in a vertical column method. So if the question does not specify, use any method of your choice. You use any method of your choice. So those are questions for grade 6 and 7. For grade 6 and 7. So those who are raising hands, will give them time to ask their questions. Not yet now. All right. Then for exponents, if you are given an exponent, which is 11 squared, 11 squared is just the same as a square, if you know a square. So it's a square and it's 11 here and it's 11 here. So they are saying 11 squared. What is 11 times 11? So they are referring to something which look like this. It's a square. So 11 squared, it means 11 times 11. So use times 11. The same method, 0 as a placeholder. 1 times 1, that's 1. 1 times 1, that's 1. Then from there, you are now multiplying by 1, this 1. 1 times 1, 1. 1 times 1 there, that's 1. Then you add 0 plus 1, 1 plus 1, that's 2, 1. That's how we are getting that answer. Then for number 5.2, square root of 25 minus 9. You don't say the answer is square root of 25 minus square root of 9. This is wrong. This is wrong. So square root of 25 minus 9 under the square root sign. You first simplify what is under the square root first. Then you get an answer. So 25 minus 9 is 16. So you first simplify what is under the square root first before you start to split square root of 25 minus square root of 9. It's not the same. Solve what is under the square root sign first. You get 16. Now we say, what is the square root of 16? Which two numbers did you multiply, which are the same for you to get 16? So if you are told it's a square and each side is 4, which means 4 times 4 is 16. So the square root of 16 is 4. The two numbers that you multiplied to get 16. We are saying the square root of 4 times 4 is equals to 4, which is the same as 16. 16, square root of 16 is the same as square root of 4 by 4, which is the answer is 4. So which two numbers did you multiply? We multiplied 4. So the square root of 16 is 4. Then you go to number 5.3. 5.3, it's saying 5 cubed minus 9 squared. So first, what is 5 cubed? 5 cubed, you write. It's 5 times 5 times 5, bracket, minus, bracket. 9 squared, which means 9 times 9. What is 5 times 5 times 5? 5 times 5, 25 times 5, 125. Minus 81. Minus 81, not 18, 81. So when you subtract, you use your vertical column method. When you subtract, you are using your vertical column method. What does the vertical column method say? So we are saying 5 cubed minus 9 squared is equals to that, which is equals to this. So then you use your vertical column method, which is 125 minus 81, like that. If it's 125 minus 81, you subtract 5 minus 1, that's 4. 2 minus 8 is impossible. You borrow from the 1, comes a 0. 12 minus 4, that's 4. Subtract, the answer is 44. That is the exponents. Then for integers, we are introducing to the negative numbers on the number line, like what we did in term 3, where we are having integers. So which means from 0, the first integer, -1, -2, -3. These are all integers. From the positive side, 1, that's 2, 3, going onwards. So this is your number line. So we are having negative numbers, which are in the negative side. only the grade 7s have done this. The grade 6 is not part of their scope. Okay, so you are now counting forward or backwards. So here you are counting backwards. So from 7, I move to 3. I've subtracted 3. Then from 4, I subtract again 3, which means minus 3. I'm counting backwards. 1 minus 3, the answer is negative 2. I told you take the sign of the bigger number. You still remember? If you just say 1 minus 3, you can just say 3 minus 1. But when you are putting your answer, take the sign of the bigger number, which was negative 3. So the difference, when we say 1 minus 3, it's the negative of 3 minus 1. That's why I always say you say 3 minus 1, but take the sign, which is the negative. 3 minus 1 is 2, but there's a negative outside, which you should be accompanying that bracket. So 1 minus 3 is the same as minus. You reverse the order, 3 minus 1. Then you get that negative 2. You do the same. We said if you get a positive and a negative, first you must know what the sign changes to. We told you positive and positive, it gives us positive. Whenever you see a positive applying a negative, then I told you it's a negative. If there's a negative applying a positive, it changes to a negative. And lastly, if there is a negative, applying a negative, this changes to a positive sign. So which situation are we having here? Positive, negative, we say the sign is negative. So instead of writing those two signs, these two signs, I replace with one sign. So I'm just going to say it's 42 minus 76, which is the same as you reverse the order. If you find it difficult, minus bracket. Then you use the bigger number first, 76 minus 42, which you know from grade 5 and 6. You get your answer, 34, but there's a negative outside, negative 34. So that's how you go about it with integers, very easy. So our time is up. We'll continue with number 6.3 onwards, and for grade 6 and 7, grade 5 and 6, we are going to volume and capacity tomorrow, and we'll continue with this question paper for grade 7s. This is the last question paper for paper 1. Then we can start with paper 2 for grade 7s. For grade 5 and 6, to be volume and capacity, length and mass. All right, class, let's call it a day. We'll see you tomorrow again.